Hello, I'm Jennifer Schomburg-Kanke, and I'm going to be reading to you today from my book, Little Stone, which is coming out in July from Sheila and Gig Editions. Available now for pre-order until July 12th. Nice little pre-order discount. I'm going to be reading to you because it's June, which is Pride. And in honor of Pride, I'm going to be reading a few poems from the book. You say, "Oh, Jen, what's the book about that you're reading for Pride?" It's about ovarian cancer. But the reason that I'm gonna do a little reading for Pride is because you see these tabs? These tabs are poems that are about queer celebrities who have had ovarian cancer. Or there's one that's about me. I'm not really a celebrity. Um, but I'm gonna read about how I flirt with my dietitian. So, because I flirt a lot, even though I've been married for 27 years, I flirt. Um, not to give you any not to reaffirm any stereotypes about bi people, but um so there's one about me in there. There's also one about a celebrity who is an ally, and the poem has a little bit about her allyship in the poem, so I'm going to read that one as well. Also, I'm not going to edit, so rambly, you don't look for perfection from me. Even when I edit, don't look for perfection. So I'm just gonna shut up and start reading. This first poem is about Laura Nyro. She was an American singer-songwriter. She was born in 1947 and passed away in 1997. Standards. Tune soft and gentle, floating away, demure in its beauty and movement. This is what he hears. This is what he wants for you. So names you Laura, after the character, after the movie, after the song. But instead, he gets you, lost in your own world full of music and better things. Why can't you be happy with Catskill summers and jazz standards? Why can't you be happy like your brother? Pops thinks all his friends would laugh if he helped you get a foot in the door. So instead, you just gave it a kick. For the rest of the reading, I will be having Stony End going through my head, or some others of her songs, so that'll be my little side narrative in my head. This next one is for Judy Tenuta, who was an American comedian, very popular in the 80s and 90s, and I loved her when I was younger. I've rewatched some things. Some things still hold up really well. Others, they don't age well. Um, so she was born in 1949. She passed away in 2022. And she was known for her allyship. She also is known for a very distinct voice and catchphrases, which I don't do a good Judy Tenuta. So I'll do my best for you. It's called The Love Goddess Protects Us All. We all thank Judy on the days she stops the rain from coming down on our heads. The days she sees what's going on and says, "Don't worry, little virgins. I've got you under my wig." And then she sprinkles green glitter eyeshadow over the land to make the drag queens grow. We all thank Judy on the days she stops a congressman from voting like a damnable fool. She hovers close to his ear and gets her accordion to let out a mournful, reedy honk each time he starts to think a hateful thought. The love goddess is working aversion training magic and doing her best from beyond. We all thank Judy on the days she stops our cancers from coming back. How she sees a single cell getting a little too rowdy in there and yells, "Hey, honk, cut it out, pig." And it listens to her because it knows she'll kick its ass with her delicate little feet if it doesn't. What? It could happen. If you aren't familiar with her work, that last line was one of her biggest catchphrases. Again, I don't do a good Judy Tenuta, but My heart is in the right place. My heart is in the right place. And now for a poem about people whose hearts are not in the right place. If medical neglect of a trans man is something that you do not feel up to hearing a poem about, you should fast forward about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. This poem is about Robert Eads. He was the subject of a documentary called Southern Comfort. It's a wonderful documentary. You can find it actually on YouTube right now. Um, and he was born in 1945 and he died in 1999. There is a funny part in this poem, though, sort of. Okay, it's a, um, it's hard for me not to cry when I read this poem. Southern Comfort. 1. Why even say it? That pithy phrase they throw at his feet like a bone to a dog chained to a tree just an inch too far. It isn't me. They'd gladly treat him. But what would the other women in the waiting room think? Him with his scruffy beard and plaid shirt, smelling of cigarettes and diesel fuel. Him after tea and top surgery. Uncomfortable. That's what they'd be. Uncomfortable. They might never come back. And we can't have that. No, no, we can't have that. 2. There once was a man from Toccoa who just wanted cigs and his Lola. No gyno would treat him, left him lying there bleedin', as cancer spread all round his innards. 3. How is your chair, Mrs. Velma Jean Smith? Is the brown pleather seat soft enough to keep the particle board away from your delicate hind? Are the arms the right height, not too high or too low? Are the magazines only now just out of date? Is the thermostat set to a comfortable 74? Good, good. So glad there's nothing disturbing you. Hope your annual comes back clean as a cracker-filled whistle. And I do not wish medical maladies on anyone, but it is an infuriating and saddening situation. Um, so my poet persona wishes maybe some maladies on them, but I don't. I'm not going to ramble. I'll leave it at that. I'll let the poem, just let my poem stand as my poem is. Okay. So, following that up with a legitimately funny poem, I think, if I do say so myself. This is called While We Sing the DuckTales Theme. My hand is burning, but I don't feel it. Needle bent, nurse inattentive or attentive to the wrong things, no one paid to notice, notices the Taxol escaping my IV and moving into my arm until it has made it almost to my elbow. The Ativan meant to calm me, make me a good little cancer girl, quiet for her chemo, only unearths some teenage version of me, usually hidden under too many years of get this done and here's how people do we call adulthood. Instead of sleeping like everyone else in the infusion lab, I flirt with the dietitian even after she's made fun of my flip phone and looked at my coconut water judgmentally. I lead us in a sing-along of cartoon songs. DuckTales, Duckula, Duckman, all the ducks in a row, even if some we can only hum. I explained to the nurse that if only she hadn't asked that this vein take an IV, but instead that she'd find the right vein, then none of this would have happened. I'm a kid again. What do I know but everything? I guess that wasn't as funny as sort of like my mind remembers it as. Um, I later found out that the dietitian's wife, about 3 years prior to when I was going through treatment, the dietitian's wife had actually passed away from ovarian cancer. And I don't know why that makes me feel really bad about having flirted with her. I don't know. It makes me feel some kind of way um, to find out that her wife had fairly recently before that died from the same diseases I was going through. I'm a poet. I overthink things, right? Um, and I'm highly narcissistic. So think everything's about me. Anyway, no more cutting the rattling off. This next one is a poem about Andrea Gibson, who was an American poet born in 1975. They passed away in 2025. And Andrea Gibson's poems are phenomenal, and their poems cover stuff so much better than I feel like I ever could. Uh, so the only thing I can add is to add sort of my own story in. So this is a poem that is about and for Andrea Gibson, but also says a lot about me. So this is called Poem Where I'm Self-Conscious About the Number of Times I Use the Word Dancing, but There's Nothing Left to Say. I danced the weekend after you died because you said you danced everywhere. Because you said you danced badly, though really you just danced like one of the cool boys in 1991, taking up space with angular slicing and sliding along. And if dancing shows our soul in ways that PET scans never could, then I am Flo Rida's low, joking with the stranger beside me that, at our age, we should have stretched between the dinner and the dance floor. We both make it down by the final chorus of the song, and she puts out a hand to help me back up. When Pitbull's Fireball comes on 2 songs later, I shake my head at her, and neither take it down nor bring it back, but instead just dance quieter or louder, whichever the moment asks of me. And that poem's kind of interesting because I say joking with a stranger, though I was flirting with a stranger. So if I want to be honest about that, but I'm gonna just leave that as joking, mainly because we're at proof stage and these poems, these poems are what they are, right? Um, Available for pre-order now. This final poem is for Holly Dunn, and she was an American singer, songwriter, as well as a painter. She was in Nashville. She was part of Grand Ole Opry, and she was closeted for mo all, I think, of her career, of her singing career. And some of her songs, she specifically has a song called Daddy's Hands, that when you hear it, it's it is about an abusive father. In my like I listen to it, it sounds like it's a emotionally abusive father, perhaps more, and but the song is not phrasing it that way. And that kind of shows you where we were at in the 80s and 90s. So, I don't love her music, even though I did love country music of the 80s and 90s. Um, but this poem is about one of her paintings. It's an ekphrastic poem about her painting Salsa, which is available on her website. Ripened tomatoes still on the vine, crowding around bell peppers of yellow, orange, and deep red. They are only pieces not yet together as a whole, not yet what they will someday be. Dream of what will come next. The garlic and the lime, a small earthenware bowl. Dream of that moment when the day has been long and it's hard not to remember all you have left and all that's left you. How she will offer up the world on a spoon, just for a taste, just a small sample, just enough. Thank you for listening and letting me practice reading these poems. Um, Half of my brain at most times is telling me that what I'm saying is what I shouldn't be saying. Like there's all so much dialogue up there, and I need to practice reading these poems because got a lot of readings planned where I'm going to read from this book and reading poems about ovarian cancer. It's hard. And um, I don't think that I said this at the beginning, but I was diagnosed in 2019, went through chemo that summer, and have been cancer free ever since, knock on wood. Um, and so this book is about my experiences and also about some celebrities that have had it. So I wanted to, because it's Pride, and oftentimes on my Facebook, I'll do like a Eurovision Pride thing where I talk about queer folks who have been in Eurovision, and I haven't really had the energy to do that the last few years. And so I wanted to do something, and I do have the book coming out, and there are the poems in there about some queer celebrities. So hence this reading. Thank you for listening. Thank you for stopping by.